Hey teachers, it's Tim here, and in today's video we're going to be going through a question from a teacher and my answer. And the question's all about getting students improvising when they're a little bit cautious. So the question comes from Georgina. Let me read it out to you. She says she's tried lots of things with this student and doesn't know where to go from here. He's a great kid, talented, understands theory really well, and he's desperate to be able to sit down at the piano and improvise. We'll come up with a chord progression for his left hand. We'll add the chords in the right hand, but when it comes to doing anything more adventurous, he draws a blank. I'll show him what he could do. For example, I'll take the notes of the triad and play them in descending order in a simple rhythm, and I'll talk about my process behind it. But when he tries, he just sits and stares at the piano and then says to me, but what should I do? I've stripped things right back, told him to just put his right hand in C position and play any note in any order. It doesn't matter how it sounds, just to get something out. But he says, I don't know which notes to play and when. I point out that's the joy of improvising. No one's telling you what to play and when, you decide it, but he just can't make any decisions. I don't think it's a fear of getting things wrong, because he doesn't have that when he's playing from sheet music. He just doesn't seem to be able to make any spur of the moment decisions. I teach his sister and she's exactly the same. I've got one more idea to try with him this week, and then I'm stumped. Please help. Well, Georgina, I'm very happy that you've sent this question in to me, and I'm very happy to give you some thoughts on it. Firstly, I would say this is really common, actually. So when we're teaching improvising, because it's a little bit unusual for some students, particularly if you're changing your teaching to be more creative and you've previously done a lot of sheet music work, it will be a bit of a surprise, it'll be a bit awkward, and some students just aren't as comfortable with it as others. There's also going to be students who just don't really want to do this very much. And so, as you know, I'm very passionate about adding creativity into things. Going right to improvising and creating from scratch can be quite a leap. There are other things that you can do, like what I call repertoire remixing or musical mashups, where you can get creative with the music that students are learning already. So my first thought is that if you're trying to jump straight to let's improvise over a 12-bar blues and have a whole lot of notes and use a whole piano, that might just be too much for some students. Some students are fine with it, but some may find it too much. So start with more simple creativity based on the repertoire. And I've got lots of examples of YouTube videos and webinars where I've shown teachers how to do that. Now, to Georgina's specific question, one of the mistakes we make, and I've done this myself, when working on improvising with students, is to give them too many options. The piano has way too many keys to do improvising with all the keys straight away. So we want to keep it as small as possible. So let me jump over to the piano now and go through a couple of things. Okay, so one of those challenges with improvising is that if we say, okay, so let's say we've got a simple walking bass line. This is like the hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back, no, descending bass pattern. So what we want is for students to be able to now, we want them to be able to do that or something like it, but that's way down the path to be able to do that. So for a student like this, Georgina, I would be saying, let's give them just one note to improvise with and not a note more. And I was doing a pop song solution on The Killer's Mr. Brightside and realized that the whole verse is based on one note. He sings I had no idea until I pulled it apart that this song that I actually quite like is based on one note in the whole verse, and maybe two others sprinkled in later on. So you can do a lot with one note. So for example, in this idea, can you just pick one note? And can he improvise using that one note? How simple could it be? Maybe octaves. So my question would be, would that be something that he could do or explore? If not if not just one note, then maybe if he's getting comfortable, could he add a second note? And I want to go here, but we're restricting ourselves to the 2 notes. So just reducing way down. Now I know you said, Georgina, that you'd given him a 5-finger pattern. I don't know what left hand you were using, but maybe even five fingers and 5 notes is too much. So just one. Just choose 1 note to start with. Now the other thing I would say for a student like this, the funny thing is that he said that he's interested in improvising, he wants to get better at it. And so I would be more expecting a student who is reticent or a bit worried about improvising to be someone who doesn't actually want to do this, but he actually wants to do it. So I think we need to try and get over that hump for him. So starting with 1 note, doing repertoire remixing, so improvising based on the music that the student's already learning. I think that's a great way to go. The other thing I would suggest is using some of the ideas in 4-chord composing. So I've always got the circle of fifths sticky here. 4-chord composing is one of my frameworks that's really achievable for any student, and it's based around using the pop song 4-chord progressions that actually underpins all of tonal harmony. It's not just about pop songs. The things that students will learn during 4-chord composing can be applied to any of the music that they're learning, as long as it's tonal. So it's a great skill. It's not just for a bit of fun. It's actually really, really deep and meaningful, useful pedagogy for any student. So for this student, I wonder whether instead of having to think, oh, I've got to create a melody, could you explore chords instead and different ways of playing chords? So could we explore it just a chord progression, and could he play it kind of in a, just enjoy playing it in a sort of accompaniment style like that, or maybe explore some left-hand patterns. And I'm just playing chords in the right hand, no melody. And I just wonder whether that might simplify things a bit for him or make him less concerned, because creating melody can feel a little bit more intimidating than perhaps a chord progression of some sort, particularly if you use the 4-chord composing framework. Now, if you're not sure about the 4-chord composing and you would like to find out more, head over to topmusic.co/chords. I'll give you the first lesson plan and the full overview of how it all works and what you can do to get started. So yeah, just starting with a simple few chords, I reckon, for this student. And then maybe trying to improvise over that chord progression, but again, just starting with 1 note. I really think that's going to be the best way to go. So Georgina, I hope that's helpful. I would love to know how you go with your student. I hope it's something that brings him out of his shell a bit and makes him a bit more confident. And I'd love to hear from you. If you've watched this and you're like, oh, I've got a really good question for Tim, please send it through, support@topmusic.co. We love receiving questions from teachers, and I will be answering more in future videos. Until then, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe wherever you're watching this. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.